A very, very fun ending to Fantasy Week 3, and now we are on to Fantasy Week 4. Welcome, everybody. This is Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas, Tuesday morning, September 23rd. Adam Azer, Dave Richard, and Jamie Eisenberg going through the waiver wire priorities. It's a great morning to be in a shallow league where you might have Trey Benson available to you. You might have Jake Ferguson or Jordan Addison or Chris Godwin available to you in these shallower leagues. And boy, Dave and I were talking before the show. Yeah, I just kind of knew based on how many must-start players were in the Detroit Baltimore game and the fact that it was super close going into the fourth quarter. Like, so many matchups were going to be determined, and we had some nail biters. I had one matchup that was determined by 0.16 fantasy points, and Dave went and he one-upped me.
Yes, I did.
You won a game by
0.04 in a dynasty league. It's my high stakes dynasty league. I don't know, but I won 137.54 to 137.5. I don't think I've ever had a win that close.
Were you monitoring it?
No, too many leagues. I can't stay on top of it.
Jamie, what's up?
Good morning.
Any nail biters?
I was down big in one league where it's Dynasty League. I start both Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, so that was fun.
Oh, very nice. Very nice outing there. All right, let's get to the waiver wire here. We have some good names for you. Top 3 waiver wire priorities, Jamie. What's it going to be? And remember, we use the threshold on CBS of 65% or fewer, but we will, of course, touch on the shallow league guys and the deep league guys. So who are the top 3?
Hit the button.
Hit the button. Oh, wait. No, that's Friday night's a great night for football.
Elic Ayomanor would be 1. Tre Tucker would be 2, and Hunter Henry would be 3.
Okay, Elic Ayomanor, Tre Tucker with this great matchup this week against the Bears. Ayomanor gets the Texans, who may not have Derek Stingley, and Hunter Henry. One of the things I guess I didn't realize about Hunter Henry, and I'm sorry about this, is that he had one bad game, and Drake May only threw 23 passes in that game. So May has thrown 36 or more in the other 2 games, and Henry's been very good. So it's an interesting, it's not like the greatest top 3 ever, but Elic Ayomanor, Tre Tucker, Hunter Henry. Dave, how about you?
Well, when you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do?
I pee.
He sits when he pees.
I pee.
No, you need to go to your waiver wire and just double check if Trey Benson's available. And you need to do it in all of your leagues. And on CBS, he's already rostered in like 80% of leagues. But there are some leagues out there, especially on Yahoo and ESPN, where he's available in like 50% of the leagues. There are leagues that I am in, he is a free agent. And so I intend to spend the FAAB, do what I have to do to get Trey Benson on my squad. That's an easy one. So the first thing you do, and you should have done when you woke up this morning, was check to see if Trey Benson was available. That being said, the top 3, if you can't get Benson, Ayomanor is number 1, Tre Tucker is number 2. I put Rashid Shaheed number 3. 3 receivers, because I'm not ready to trust Hunter Henry. I guess if you need a tight end, of course he's a priority. But I'd go with those 3 receivers as my top 3.
Okay, so you guys agree on Ayomanor and Tre Tucker, and then Dave has Rashid Shaheed as his 3rd priority. Jamie has Hunter Henry. No quarterbacks listed in the top 3, but there are some decent options, including Geno Smith this week. By the way, Trey Benson is 60% rostered on Sleeper. So between Sleeper, ESPN, and Yahoo, Trey Benson is no more than 60% rostered in any of those leagues. He is a slam dunk layup. Now, in those, a slam dunk layup doesn't really make sense. That's 2 different things. He's a windmill tomahawk jam. Now, I mentioned 3 other guys that could be available in shallower league.
Best windmill dunker of all time.
The best windmill dunker of all time?
Yes, very easy.
I mean, my first thought was Neek.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basketball guy right here.
I don't know if this guy's ever done a windmill dunk, but I was going to say Sean Kemp.
He probably has.
I feel like he's done some. He was a great dunker. Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, Jake Ferguson. If you saw them, are they all must-adds?
Addison's roster percentage?
Addison's 89. He's the highest by far. Godwin's 82 and Ferguson's 86%.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but if he's available, but I usually just for the column, I go like 80, right around 80% or lower. So
Addison on Sleeper is 81% rostered. I just wanted to knock these three guys out. Do you think that they're all guys who should be close to 100% rostered? Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison, and Jake Ferguson?
Yep.
I mean, Ferguson should have been from the start of the season. So after what he's done so far, 100%. Godwin, yes. And Addison, yes. I would rank them at this point, though. Ferguson, Godwin, Addison.
I'd flip the receivers.
Ferguson, Addison, Godwin. Okay, for Dave. Ferguson, Godwin, Addison for Jamie, but Trey Benson is the prize. Okay, so with Ayomanor and Tre Tucker, are we thinking these are long-term guys, or these are just take a shot?
I think with Ayomanor, there's Ayomanor.
Yeah, what's up with you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's early. I would say that he is long-term. You're kind of picking him up. You're going to see what happens. He's a solid receiver who's getting a lot of playing time and scoring some touchdowns for Tennessee. It's not like he's this amazing talent. It's just a great opportunity. But I think that Tennessee is going to be throwing in a bunch of games. Calvin Ridley hasn't done bupkis. So Ayomanor's got the opportunity to go and be potentially the best pass catcher for the Titans. That's why you're picking him up. Tucker's been around for 3 years, and he's had a big play 1 week, and then like 3 straight weeks after that, he's been terrible. And I do like that he had 2 red zone touchdowns last week against Washington. But just the track record makes me a little skittish on being so excited about him. He's more of a short-term ad. Maybe you'll start him over one. Certainly next week against Chicago, it's a great matchup. But next couple of weeks, maybe as a bye week replacement, maybe as a low-end flex, that's kind of the range that Tucker would be in for me.
And your thoughts, Jamie? Just, let's compare Ayomanor and Tucker to some of the other waiver wire guys that we've picked up recently. So Wan'Dale Robinson, Cedric Tillman, Dontavian Wicks. I don't remember some of the big names I might be missing here, but Troy Franklin, how do we feel about Ayomanor and Tucker compared to that group?
So there's a reason if you go back and look, and I hope I've done a good job of this, and I hope fantasy managers have done a good job of doing this in their ad drops. Like, these are not guys you spend a lot of FAAB on. These are guys you take chances on to see what develops. I think in the case of Ayomanor, you're looking long-term more so than short-term because you really want to see what this offense looks like because there's going to be good games for Calvin Ridley coming at some point. And hopefully he won't be dropping the ball and struggling like this the rest of the season. But you see the rapport that's developed between the 2 rookies at quarterback and wide receiver. And who is he trusting at this point? And he's trusting Ayomanor. Like the touchdown that he had was such a great play by Cam Ward to know that he was going to be in the spot on a guy going across his body, into the end zone. And he's now 3 straight games of just things that you're seeing. The first game wasn't great from a statistical standpoint, but getting open and routes run and all these things that we sort of look for, he's doing that right out of the gate. And so you hope that this is just the building block. For Tucker, this is the week to see what he is because it's 2 straight weeks of 8+ targets. So clearly Geno Smith is looking for him. Clearly this is a guy that they're trying to get going. 1 week it was an absolute failure against the Chargers. 1 week it was the best game of his life in the comeback effort or garbage time, however you want to frame it, against the Commanders. And so now he gets the Bears. If he does this again, I'm not talking about 145 and 3, I'm talking about 8+ targets, then he's going to have some long-standing potential. But I don't think he's anything more, at least right now, than a number 3 receiver at best. And can you trust him? So which Tre Tucker shows up? Like Dave said, we have 3 years of this. Really, though, it's 3 games of this because it's Geno Smith and Chip Kelly and this offense and what this is allowing him to do. So I don't want to spend a lot of FAAB on any of these guys at wide receiver. From Wan'Dale last week to Troy Franklin last week to Dontavian Wicks and all these guys, like these are not anything more. Like at most, I think I've said maybe 10% of your FAAB, and that was probably stretching it.
I also think it's really 2 games with Tre Tucker because I think there's a clear difference in the Raiders offense since the Brock Bowers knee injury. And
fair point. Yeah.
We talked about it on Beyond the Box Score. we kind of feel like the injury is a big deal here for Brock Bowers. Just doesn't seem to be moving the same way. And you just think about, he had over 100 yards in 3 quarters in the first game, and then he hurt his knee and hasn't been the same. So we don't know, obviously, when he's going to get back to being himself. But while he is not himself, Tre Tucker appears to be picking up the slack. Would you drop Wan'Dale Robinson for Ayomanor or Tucker?
I think if you do, you're coming back to him in a week or two, because that's just the type of player that he is. So
yeah.
I would probably just hold on to Wan'Dale, but it depends. I mean, if you're looking for the most upside, clearly Tucker and Ayomanor, I think, have more upside than Wan'Dale, even despite the fact that what he did in week 2, because that's just not who he is, on an annual basis. And we may have a quarterback change that could help him or hurt him, based on what Brian Daboll said on Monday, that we could be looking at Jackson Dart starting. So maybe it's great for Wan'Dale. I would probably just hold tight unless you really want to, see if you can get him for next to nothing. I wouldn't be spending $10 of your FAAB here, $10 of your FAAB there. Like, you're just chasing and wasting money.
Right. So, yes, by the way, we talked about Trey Benson, for those of you asking in the chat. Pick him up. But it might not be Jackson Dart, by the way. They haven't specifically said it would be. We think so. But it's possible they would go to Jameis Winston, which, would that be fun temporarily. Now, one thing I know it is time for football at BetMGM. And when you register with BetMGM, you're going to get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, boost tokens, and the best daily promotions in the business. Plus, when you huddle up with BetMGM at your fingertips, every pass, every catch, and every game matter more than ever. So football's back, and don't miss out on any of the hard-hitting action. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with BetMGM today. And BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Schedule alert! A little siren. Bryce Young. That's a great schedule coming up. Gets the Patriots, who allow the second most yards per attempt in the NFL. The Dolphins, who allow the second most fantasy points in the NFL. Then the Cowboys, and then the Jets. That is a nice 4-game stretch, maybe 3-game stretch. Maybe the Jets aren't so bad, but right now they're 26th against quarterbacks. Patriots, Dolphins, Cowboys, Jets for Bryce Young. The Jets quarterback, whoever that is, for the next couple of weeks, is facing Miami and Dallas. And that's pretty cool. The Chiefs wide receivers, for whatever it's worth, if you're thinking about Tyquan Thornton, unfortunately, I think Xavier Worthy could affect him. But the Chiefs wide receivers' next 5 matchups are against teams that currently rank 24th or worse against receivers. I think it's a little deceiving. It's early, but on paper, it's good. Bad matchups. Really just one I wanted to highlight here. The Washington running backs. Their next game, this upcoming game, is against Atlanta. They've been great against running backs. Then the Chargers, who have actually struggled a little bit in terms of yards per carry allowed, but they're giving up the 5th fewest fantasy points to running backs. And then it gets easier with the Bears and the Cowboys. But the next 2 matchups for Washington running backs, Atlanta and the Chargers, both games on the road. All right, so how much FAAB are we talking? It's not a big FAAB week. If Trey Benson were available, how much FAAB would you spend on him?
What have you got left?
Let's say I have $80 out of 100. Let's say I have 80% of my budget left.
Maybe save 5 or 6%, because it is a long year. But this is the type of player who is going from waiver wire to your starting lineup with no benching in the foreseeable future. So spend it.
And the other guys, the Ayomanors of the world, but we're not spending that much.
No. Single digits.
What about, real quick, in a super flex league? I mean, I assume Carson Wentz and Tyrod Taylor and Mariota have been picked up, but there's some talk, certainly not with Mariota, but Kevin O'Connell not committing to JJ McCarthy necessarily when he comes back. He didn't yet. It kind of evaded it. And it seems like Aaron Glenn did the same thing with Justin Fields. I couldn't believe that. So what do we think about, I guess, and instead of answering in a FAAB question or FAAB outlook here, like, what do we think about the possibility that Tyrod Taylor and Carson Wentz could have the job for a little while here?
I think in any super flex league, whenever there's a starting quarterback available as a backup for a 1-week situation or potentially several week situation, and you need that player, or think you're going to need that. I mean, next week starts bye weeks, so you're going to be dealing with some crazy situations potentially. Like, I had one league where I did not need Jake Browning. I spent a lot of money to get Jake Browning in the Superflex League just because I want to see what happens, and maybe down the road I might need him. Thomas spent $38 ahead of time to get Carson Wentz with the idea of maybe this happen. Like there are all sorts of certain situations where if you think your quarterback situation is unsettled, then go get one of these guys because it could turn into a Wally Pip and they could be starting for several weeks or maybe the rest of the season. In the case of the two teams that you mentioned, obviously there was that potential after what we saw and how these things are unfolding. So yes, Carson Wentz may come out of this 3-0, 4-0, and the team is playing great. And Kevin O'Connell says we're just going to ride this out. And he's about wins at this point, I think. Trying to make sure this team has a chance because they have a Super Bowl caliber defense. They have a Super Bowl caliber receiving core. They have a run game now I think that they trust. And can they have a quarterback that's going to get them to the point that they need to? And he might feel that Carson Wentz is that guy right now.
All right. So if you need more waiver wire advice.
I will say this, though, in the case of Trey Benson, because it's not, and it's probably different in Yahoo and ESPN leagues or sleeper leagues, but like Brian Robinson Jr., Tyler Algier, Ray Davis, Blake Corum, like these are guys that are available. So instead of, if you don't need these wide receivers, don't go chase Ayomanor and Tucker and these guys and waste your FAAB. Get these handcuffs and just sit on them for a couple weeks and see what happens, because you may be looking at Trey Benson was, it's a weird situation, but like in a guillotine league last week, I picked him up for $30 because I didn't need anything. So I'm like, okay,
out of 1,000.
No, well, I don't remember what I had left, but like, these are the things that help you 6 weeks from now. Like, I don't have to chase Trey Benson now because I picked him up last week. Like he's available in almost 50% of leagues on these other sites. Like,
sure.
And I don't know what the bench situations are, and obviously every team is different. But like, if you're carrying two quarterbacks, and I know Adam, you could probably counter with, well, we lost Joe Burrow and we lost these guys, and that's fair. But like, if you don't need something on your roster, pick up something that has immense upside and potential.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
It's a little bit different than when we were drafting, because when you're drafting, you don't necessarily want to pick up, the handcuff for your own team when you can get someone for your other team, or maybe you did the inverse of that. And if you did the inverse of that, you're probably happy that you've got the handcuff of your best running back on your team. You've got Algier if you spent the first round pick on Bijan. Now we're talking about making just a cheap ad drop off the waiver wire. So this is the perfect time to go and say, there's a wide receiver on my bench. I'm not going to use them. Jamie, you're right. Why go and spend $5 or $6 on Ayomanor or Tre Tucker or whoever, when you can go and spend 1 or 2 to get a decent handcuff?
Yeah. Okay. And all right, we're going to take a break. We have more waiver wire talk at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network today. So please join us there.
Now, who's hosting that show?
I don't know. I heard they brought in someone great today.
Me too.
And if you miss it live at 1 p.m. Eastern on CBS Sports Network, you can watch it on youtube.com/fantasyfootball today. We'll be right back to give you some news and notes, updates on CeeDee Lamb and whatnot. We'll be right back after this. Okay, welcome back. Let's do our news and notes here. Jaden Daniels is still day-to-day. So we will see if it's Mariota or Daniels this week at Atlanta. Interesting matchup. Carson Wentz is going to start this week against the Steelers. But as I mentioned, it might be more of a long-term thing. Brian Dable did not commit to Russell Wilson. He also did not say it would be Jackson Dart if they make the change. Brock Purdy is expected to practice this week. And then there's this thing where Aaron Glenn didn't commit to Justin Fields returning as the starter. That one is weird to me. Running back news, Zach Charbonnet. So they have the Thursday game. Zach Charbonnet was listed as a full participant in practice. And they also signed Khalil Herbert to their practice squad. But they've got Arizona on the road on Thursday. Looking forward to that matchup. Najee Harris.
They got rid of, what's his name? Who's the kid from Miami again, the running back?
Oh, they got rid of Damian Martinez?
Yes. So he was actually working out with the Colts. So I think that was more of who can they have in the emergency situation.
Najee Harris and James Conner are officially out for the season, and Tyrone Tracy is going to miss time with a dislocated shoulder. Wide receiver news, CeeDee Lamb, 2 to 4 weeks is what I saw. High ankle sprain. He might go on IR, but he's out for a bit. That's a bummer. They have Green Bay this week, then the Jets, then the Panthers, then the Commanders. We've got Juwan Jennings day to day. Mike Evans, it doesn't seem like it's a long-term injury right now. We'll know today. We'll know more of a timeline today for Mike Evans, as we think Chris Godwin could certainly be back. And Tristan Wirfs this week against the Eagles. Big game. But Mike Evans, we'll call him day to day for now. Have we seen anything on Terry McLaurin?
Nothing.
No.
I think he's
okay.
He's okay.
So Luke McCaffrey scored his first ever touchdown last week, and Terry McLaurin was the one who jogged downfield to retrieve the ball to give to Luke McCaffrey. So it's clearly not bad enough where he can't jog. I don't know if it, what does it mean for football? Who knows? But it doesn't. I would put him in a better bucket than Evans. I'd be a little more concerned about Evans.
Yeah, McLaurin, we don't know. I think if you have McLaurin, you should make plans to be starting someone else, but just haven't heard anything.
See, I would feel that way more about Evans.
I do.
Okay.
No, I feel certainly for Evans.
Right. But you just called him, we'll call him day to day. Usually when somebody's day to day, they end up playing.
I think they called Jaden Daniels day to day last week. They called Juwan Jennings day to day last week.
Are you saying these coaches are lying to us about the health of their football players? Especially
all day to day.
Let's go.
We are. Alec Pierce has a concussion. One game without Alec Pierce last year. Josh Downs led the team in targets with 4. Anthony Richardson threw 11 passes in that game. Wow. De'Ami Brown, shoulder injury. Tight end news, Colston Loveland doesn't appear to have a serious injury, but Jatavian Sanders has a high ankle sprain. He'll be out a while. Have we heard about Lane Johnson for Philadelphia?
He had a stinger. He expects to play this week.
Excellent. However, what's the latest on Zach Tom and Aaron Banks for Green Bay? I'm sorry. I know there was an update yesterday, and I missed it. I don't remember it. And we'll keep you posted on that. But they had
to make the game more fair against the Cowboys, they're just going to play with 2 offensive linemen.
Cowboys have just no pass rush. DeJuan Jones, the offensive tackle for the Browns, he is out for the season. Minnesota left guard Donovan Jackson is out about a month. Tyler Booker for the Cowboys. Ooh, I hope this doesn't hurt Javonte. Right guard Tyler Booker out 4 to 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. And Nick Bosa, we look at defense. Nick Bosa tore his ACL. So that's a big hit for the 49ers. Bosa's out for the season. Hate to see it. For Dallas, Deron Bland could be back this week. I mean, they're going to be bad with or without him, but worse without him. So cornerback Deron Bland could be back. Also, Kenny Clark left with an injury, their defensive tackle. They've had actually a solid run defense. I don't think it's serious for Kenny Clark. We'll find out as they face Green Bay. Tennessee head coach Brian Callahan could give up play calling duties. Anything to spark that offense would be great. I wanted to mention this. I don't know if this matters, but Jacksonville cornerback Jarrian Jones. He has only played 26 snaps over the last 2 weeks. The only reason I bring that up is I'm wondering if that is the reason why Travis Hunter has played more on defense and less on offense. Although it's not that much less on offense than he did in week 1. But that might be something, if Jarrian Jones can come back, that gets Travis Hunter freed up to play more snaps offensively. They've needed him on defense. Indianapolis cornerback Kenny Moore is out a few weeks. We're going to check on Sauce Gardner. He's got a head injury. Derek Stingley, I think, is looking good to play. Will Harris, starting safety for the Commanders, he's out for the year. And Atlanta fired wide receiver coach Ike Hilliard. Bad week for the Gators. Top 3 priorities at each position. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. It was a shot at the Gators, not at Ike Hilliard. I'm sorry about that. I don't want to say
a roll. Somebody gets hurt, we dance on their grave. Somebody gets fired, you dance
that was
on
horrible.
Oh my gosh, what's next?
That was really meant for Jamie, not for Ike Hilliard. My apologies. That was messed up. I don't want to see anyone lose their job. All right, top 3 priorities at each position. Jamie, who are the top 3 quarterbacks? We haven't touched on this position yet.
It's actually a really good position, and it's kind of similar to the wide receivers. It's like you don't need to go spend a lot because there's a lot of guys you could find. I'm actually torn, to be honest with you, on who I'm going to make start of the week this week between Marcus Mariota and Geno Smith. It's probably going to be Geno Smith because I don't know exactly when they'll say that Jaden Daniels is out unless he gets ruled out sooner, but both kind of in amazing situations. Mariota has just been so fantastic every time he's got a chance to play extended time for the Commanders, and you saw it again last week. And for Geno Smith, this was a great game for him, and he has a chance to follow it up with another great game against the Bears this week. So love the setup for those 2 guys. Carson Wentz, like you mentioned, in a good spot, taking on a Steelers defense that obviously has struggled. And we did not see the best of Carson Wentz, I think, because maybe we did, but didn't have to do very much. Only 20 pass attempts in that game last week because they were just so dominant defensively. So big opportunity for all three of these guys, and they're all available in everywhere. And you can get a starting quarterback here. I think in the case, at least for me, for Mariota and Geno Smith, I would start both of them over Patrick Mahomes this week.
Mahomes against Baltimore. So really, that's interesting. You don't think that's like kind of a shootout? Maybe gets Worthy back.
If he gets Worthy back, I might change that. But for right now, these guys have been just as good, if not better.
Do you fear the Falcons matchup? They're currently 4th best against quarterbacks. They gave up a big game to Baker Mayfield. Then J.J. McCarthy and Bryce Young struggled.
Not for Mariota because of how he plays. And I think you got to throw out the Panthers game because Bryce Young didn't have to do very much.
It is true. He only threw 24 passes. Okay, so Mariota, Geno Smith, Carson Wentz, top 3 there. Dave, top 3 running backs other than Trey Benson, of course.
It's not pretty. You're going to see Woody Marks toward the top of that list, Tyjae Spears toward the top of that list, and then pick your own Commanders running back for third between Jeremy McNichols, who had a nice touchdown run, and Chris Rodriguez, who had more carries, had more playing time. I think he led the Commanders running backs in playing time.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt played more snaps than Rodriguez, so it was JCM or Bill led them in snaps.
He did 40% to 36%. It was very close between the two.
Yeah, it's messy. Like, don't chase McNichols' run because he played the least of the 3. He had the best run. I'll ask you, Dave, the same question I asked Adam. He had the longest touchdown run for the Commanders since 2019. Who was the last player to have a long touchdown run of that? I don't know, the same
2019.
Same distance.
On the Commanders, you mean?
On the
Obviously. No, I don't remember.
I'll Venmo you $5,000.
Well, now I might want to sit and think about it.
Also, I need to take out a loan if you get this. What was it? Steven Sims?
Steven Sims.
I was going to guess Steven Sims. The running backs aren't great, but Woody Marks is absolutely one of those running backs that we were kind of talking about. They're a backup, so to speak. Marks is a part-time player for Houston. It's not a great situation, but all you have to do is wait out Nick Chubb falling out of favor in Houston, and Woody Marks will start playing more and getting more opportunities.
So we're there already. I don't know about necessarily falling out of favor, but Chubb played 33 snaps. Marks played 30, and it's a pretty telling sign about how the second half went, where he was playing more than Nick Chubb. And so I hope for a team that's 0-3 and still a chance to win that division and make a playoff run. I doubt it, but it's still potential just based on what's happened for the last couple of years. And their defense is still fantastic. Like, make the switch already. Give Marks an opportunity. Make it a 60-40 split in Marks' favor. He should absolutely. These are the type of guys that we're saying, like, go get these guys now because you could see it happening. You could see the path for him having an opportunity. And I'm going to give you more guys because it's not just Woody Marks. Go get Ollie Gordon. Go get Blake Corum. Go get these guys that if they're an injury away from top 20 caliber potential. Like, they're just sitting there.
And I got to say that, with Ollie Gordon, you have, I don't know if he's going to be the exclusive goal line back. He's obviously going to factor in there for the Dolphins. And Kareem Hunt is another guy who is the goal line back. Again, I'm not saying he'll get everyone, but Pacheco is such a weird player doing the weirdest things on the field right now that when do they just start trusting Kareem Hunt more? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but could he?
He started the game.
Yeah. Obviously it's very even split right now, but what was Pacheco doing? He ran into his offensive lineman, ran the wrong way, didn't recover a fumble. It was such a strange, he's just being weird. I don't know. I got to talk to him. Okay. Let's get some wide receivers here. Jamie, top wide receivers.
Ayomanor and Tre Tucker are the top 2. Dave mentioned Shaheed. You could put him in that category too as well. I'm going to, again, look long-term. I think Luther Burden's got an opportunity here. Hopefully he's earning a little bit more trust. I don't want to go chase the production because it was 3 targets, 3 catches, and he had a 65-yard touchdown on a flea flicker. But for an offense that is starting to maybe get going, again, it was the Cowboys, but could happen easily this week against the Raiders as well. Like, he's somebody that you want to stash. Jalen Coker for me is somebody that I want to stash, just with the upside of what he can become. And now you're looking at Sanders out for several weeks. Leggett was missing time, and he's been at least getting targets, whether he's been doing anything with him or not. So we could see a different Jalen Coker. Maybe he's not the slot guy when he comes back because they want to keep Renfro there, and we see Coker kind of move around a little bit. But we know that Bryce Young likes him. Torrey Horton has scored 2 touchdowns in the first 3 games of the season. It's a tough sell because of how little they're throwing the ball, and clearly he's still on the field with 2 very good wide receivers in Jackson Smith and Najigba and Cooper Kupp. But Torrey Horton off to a great start. You mentioned Tyquan Thornton. I still want to take a look at the Packers receivers, and I'm going to put Wicks in front of Dobbs again until Jaden Reed comes back. It's the Cowboys this week. Last week was just a nightmare because the Browns, like, this is the week that these guys, Matthew Golden included, can all hopefully go off because of that Cowboys defense. So there's a lot of wide receivers again. Don't spend too much FAAB on these guys. These are guys that you want to put on your bench at this point if you're desperate in 3 receiver leagues. And let's face it, wide receiver has been beat up more than running back at this point. I like almost like 26, 27 running backs this week. I'm done at like 7 wide receivers, like that I actually like, just because I'm kidding. But you're down CD Lamb, you're down Mike Evans, you're down.
You've got a lower expectations for the Bengals wide receivers.
Say, yeah, like I don't know where you rank Chase, Dave. He's in the teens for me. Like it's not pretty at this point for him. And T Higgins outside the top 24.
Yeah.
So it's good to have some of these players on your bench if you can. But again, if you're prioritizing what's your best bench bet, for me, it would be taking the chances on some of these running backs more so than the receivers.
Okay, by the way, according to ESPN research, the Dallas Cowboys, that's who the Packers are playing this week, they've allowed the most completions and passing touchdowns of 25 yards or more through 3 games in the past 45 years. They are horrible. Thank you, ESPN.com, for that stat. I'm hoping Matthew Golden can take advantage, but also Wicks and Dobbs. Yeah, that's if you need some. You're in a pinch.
What will Matt LaFleur do? Will he throw or will he run?
Yeah, I mean that's the issue.
He's going to try and run. That run game hasn't been great.
If Lamb were playing in this game, you'd feel so much better about Jordan Love, right? Just throwing more and what it means for the wide receivers. But this could be a blowout.
I don't know. Could is the right word.
Right. Yeah. What does that mean for the pass attempts? Okay, Dave, top 3 tight ends.
I wonder what I'll go check with the over-under on sacks for Micah Parsons is, because it might be 20.
Hunter Henry's first at tight end, 7.3 targets per game this season, at least 10 PPR points in 2 of 3 games. And he seems to have that connection with Drake May going right now. So he's my favorite tight end to go and pick up. And then there's some other ones that I think you can get relatively cheap. I'm going to give you 4 names instead of 3. I'm still buying into Harold Fannin Jr. I still think he's going to end up having a consistent role and maybe more targets than what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. 9.8 PPR in each of his first 2 games. Just a bad game last week. It was against Green Bay. Brenton Strange for Jacksonville. He seems to have a connection going with Trevor Lawrence. We know that he's had some decent numbers, almost 10 PPR points in 2 of his 3 games. His bad game was against Houston. And Cade Otton is going to get a chance in Tampa if there's no Mike Evans. If Chris Godwin is eased in or doesn't even play in week 4, they're running out of people to throw to. You've got Emeka Egbuka, you've got Sterling Shepard. I know Cade Otton's done nothing this year, like almost literally nothing. But I would imagine he's going to start to get some targets, especially short area targets against Philadelphia this week.
In that 4-game stretch that Cade Otton had, beginning with the Baltimore game when both Godwin and Evans got hurt, he had a 4-game stretch with 8 or more targets. He scored 18 or more PPR fantasy points in 3 of the 4 games, 3 touchdowns, 77 or more yards in 3 of the 4 games. It is weird that he is just completely uninvolved right now. But all right, let's read.
It might be because, and I have to watch it back to see, but he might be asked to block more instead of run more routes. I don't know if that's the case. I'm just hypothesizing.
All right, so recap. Jamie's top 3 quarterbacks this week are Mariota, but Jaden Daniels may play, so just keep that in mind. Geno Smith and Carson Wentz. Top 3 running backs from Dave were Woody Marks, Tajay Spears, and Chris Rodriguez, or he said pick your commander's running back. Wide receiver from Jamie, Elic Ayomanor, Tre Tucker, and long-term play on Luther Burden. Tight ends from Dave, Hunter Henry, Harold Fannin Jr., Brenton Strange, and Cade Otton.
Okay, so on Otton, he has an 80% route rate, 88% route rate. So, yeah, he is running a lot of routes and just not getting the ball.
Now it's time.
That was week 3.
Now it's time for coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. Jamie, give me a DST to stream this week.
Who's facing the Giants again? Oh, the Chargers. Yeah, go get the Chargers this week. They are playing very well defensively, and now they get what should still be a layup of a matchup. I don't think the quarterback change will change how you should feel about the defense for the Chargers. If it's Jameis, it'll be some turnovers. If it's Jackson Dart, it'll be an inexperienced quarterback. If it's Russell, it'll just be terrible quarterback play across the board. So the Chargers are in a great spot. Go pick them up and start them this week.
Yeah, there's a few good DSTs. The Chargers are 64% rostered. The Commanders, Jamie has in his column. They get Atlanta this week, and all the turnovers there.
How about the Lions?
The Lions. Yeah, I wanted to bring up, and the reason why you might want to put the Lions first is the Chargers. They do have the Giants this week, but then they get Washington. The Lions have Cleveland this week, and then they're at Cincinnati. So maybe that's more of a 2-week thing for Detroit. And they're 42% rostered compared to 64% for the Chargers. Do you guys know who the number one DST? I mean, it's scoring so different, but just looking at our FFT league, which is kind of basic DST scoring, you know who the number one DST is so far?
I almost want to say the Vikings, just based on week 3.
Seattle?
It is Seattle. Yeah, I think the Vikings are up there too. Seattle's only 72% rostered. Do you consider them one of the true must-roster DSTs?
Yes. Especially this week against Kyler.
18 or more fantasy points in each of their past 2 games, and Kyler's been a mess. Now, Arizona has yet to allow more than 11 fantasy points to a DST, and that's in basic scoring leagues, but I still kind of like them on a short week.
And that was coverage you can count on, sponsored by Nationwide. Jamie, who are the kickers to pick up?
The kickers to pick up. I don't have it in front of me. Sorry.
Josh Hardy, I believe, was one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got Josh Carty, 12% roster against the Colts. You got Will Reichert, who's 47% roster against the Steelers, and Jason Myers, who's 9% rostered against the Cardinals.
Okay. And hopefully your kicker doesn't strain his hamstring or whatever during warmups, because that only happens to one franchise.
Hey, he made his kick.
We are going to take a break. Obviously, the Giants would have won that game if Graham Gano had been healthy. We're going to take a break, come back and give you Shallow League, Deep League, Detroit-Baltimore reaction, Dropometer, and more waiver wire after this.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Well, there is a Shallow League player that we haven't talked about yet that I'm looking forward to getting into here, because the 4 I mentioned at the top of the show are obviously Trey Benson, Chris Godwin, Jordan Addison. They're both expected back this week. Addison for sure. Godwin we'll see. And who is the? Oh, Jake Ferguson. There's also Juwan Jennings. Didn't mention him. He's about 80% rostered. But Jamie, who are some of the Shallow League guys that if you saw them, maybe they sneak through in a 12-team league? Holy cow, I can't believe he's available. Got to go get those players.
Quarterback, it would be Brock Purdy and Justin Fields. Purdy hopefully will be back this week, especially Mac Jones dealing with a knee injury. Justin Fields, one amazing game, one terrible game that happened to be against Buffalo. I still think there's a big year ahead for him. And as you mentioned, the upcoming schedule is very favorable. Would love to see him take on the Dolphins defense. At running back, Trey Benson obviously is the headliner there. You want to make sure he's rostered in every league. And then the other 2 guys that I mentioned, again, these are just players that if you have open roster spots, they're an injury away, unfortunately, from potentially being superstars. And that's Brian Robinson Jr. and Tyler Algier. At wide receiver, you mentioned Chris Godwin, who to me is a must-add given the Mike Evans injury, as well as Juwan Jennings, Matthew Golden, Khalil Shakir. I still put Wan'Dale Robinson there just because I think you know what you're getting from him, and I wouldn't necessarily look at the matchup against the Chiefs and saying, okay, this is who he is moving forward. Hopefully the quarterback change when it does happen, and if it's Jameis, that would be amazing. Can still keep Wan'Dale Robinson as that 12-plus point per game scorer in PPR. At tight end, you're looking at, I think you got to go back to Mark Andrews. I should probably add him just based on what we saw last night. So we'll see what happens moving forward for him, especially if Isaiah likely does return. But Juwan Johnson, it's funny, like the slow grind of him and his roster percentage creeping up, like based on how he's performed, like Jake Ferguson to me is 100% roster guy. Juwan Johnson's 100% roster guy too. It's 11 plus PPR points in 3 straight games. The targets have been there, 28 on the season. Like he's just getting so many opportunities and he's been delivering. Dalton Kincaid, 2 of 3 games have been, solid. And the one game that wasn't was the blowout game against the Jets. And Dallas Goedert, I know it was only 1 catch, but you know what he's capable of doing, especially what we saw in week 1. And if the Eagles decide, hey, look, we could throw the ball and have success, maybe Dallas Goedert continues to perform like he has been when he gets opportunities.
I just don't understand. Why are we even talking about these guys? Because Dave, None of these guys are available in my league. I'm in the deep leagues. Who do we look at there?
So let's go deeper than Geno Smith at quarterback. We're talking about Carson Wentz, who's 76% available. Sam Darnold, who's 74% available. He's been okay the last couple of weeks. Marcus Mariota, if he gets another start, 89% available. Everybody likes what they got out of him. All the other quarterbacks, I wouldn't feel good about. On the topic of super flex, deep league guys to add, what about Kirk Cousins? Available in 97% of leagues. Penix looks lost. I wonder if they make the switch to Cousins if Penix has another bad game. Just speculating on that one. Running backs, deep leagues. Woody Marks is still available in 74% of leagues. The Commanders running backs, they're available in at least 84% of leagues. This is going to be gross. I don't even know if I should I say this?
Go, do it.
Miles Sanders is available in 77% of leagues. He has 8 PPR points in each of his past 2 games. All right.
Taj Brooks. I mean, it's
well, but why? Why Taj Brooks? Because if Chase Brown can't get it done, you think Taj Brooks is going to get it done?
I don't think Chase Brown is an especially good rusher, especially between the tackles. Taj Brooks maybe is better suited for that.
Deeper leagues, that's fine. I guess you could put him. You could put him on that list, but you could also put Monangai on that list. We've been talking about him for a while. With Tyrone Tracy being out, Devin Singletary is on this list. These are not guys that are recommended.
Who took over after Ramondre Stevenson fumbled twice?
Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
And then he fumbled once.
Yeah, I know.
You know who needs to take over is Travion Henderson.
He
did. I hope that continues to happen.
Yeah.
Got like 80-something% of the snaps.
That's better.
That was awesome. All right. Deep league wide receivers, Tre Tucker headlines the list. Jalen Coker is available in is that like 90% of leagues, Jamie?
Yeah. 91.
Okay. So if you've got an IR spot, you can literally carry him for free this week, and then you can make room for him on your bench. But I really like the Coker call a lot. Burden, you mentioned. Tyquan Thornton, you mentioned. Wicks, 90% available. You can go and get him. Torrey Horton, you mentioned him. I don't like the targets. I do like the fantasy production. If Evans is out, Sterling Shepard's available in 99% of leagues. And he's a solid receiver. Might get you 10 PPR points if you're desperate.
Had 4 for 80 last week.
And on the subject of receivers coming back from suspension/injury, if Juwan Jennings is out, the 49ers are getting DeMarcus Waddle. And he's available in 98% of leagues. And he's a pretty good deep ball guy. Definitely a boomer bust type of receiver. Maybe you can get something out of him this week against Jacksonville. At tight end.
Wait. We haven't talked about Kavonte Turpin and Jalen Tolbert.
Yep.
What do we think about those guys? Because they're available pretty much everywhere.
I feel the same way about them as I do Miles Sanders. You might get 8 PPR points out of them, maybe a little bit more with Turpin. Turpin's fast, and they use him a lot. He has at least 50 yards in each of his past 2 games, 8.8 PPR points in each of his past 2 games, and he'll see more snaps, so he's okay. But we've literally named like 20 wide receivers.
Yeah, you don't have to name everyone. Just
to the show.
Give me the ones that you like. Who?
I think one for sure
I
that
don't need to name Turpin and Tolbert.
Should be added in deeper leagues is Parker Washington. I mean, with what the Jaguars receiving core looks like right now, he had 5 targets, 5 catches in week 2. He had 11 targets in week 3. He is clearly somebody that Liam Cohen and obviously Trevor Lawrence like. So he's worth rostering, especially with Dammy Brown now banged up too.
Otten is your deep league tight end at 84%. You should be able to find somebody better than him, though. Gesicki at 93%. Noah Fant is out for a while. Cole Kmet, 95%. If Loveland is out for a while. Those are the deep league guys.
And I was just thinking of somebody else.
Gadsden.
You got Gadsden for sure. You have no Sanders and no Leggett and no Coker for one more week. Hunter Renfrow.
Yes. I was going to bring him up, actually. I think I had a note on him. Hunter Renfrow. Oh, he's facing New England. I mean, they obviously. Oh, yeah. No, he's just part of the Panthers, I think, have the best upcoming schedule by far.
Yeah.
Patriots, Dolphins, Cowboys in the next 3 weeks.
It really makes the Coker call strong.
Somebody sent me a picture of a Coke can with, how they have like the names on them now.
Mm-hmm.
It said Eric. He just got a kick out of it, and he sent it to me. I appreciated that. All right, let's talk about Monday Night Football. What a fun one! Just give me a few minutes on this game. Detroit 38, Baltimore 30. And you know how I love a shadow. I was kind of doing work while watching the game, so I wasn't really paying attention, but I did pay late in the third quarter throughout. DJ Reed, number 4 for Detroit, was shadowing Zay Flowers. I assume he did that the entire game. And from everything I saw, you can only tell if he had the all 22. It seemed like he was great. So that could be a reason why Flowers had such a bad game. Obviously, Andrews had a big game. But Jamie, give me a fantasy takeaway from Detroit and Baltimore.
Well, now Jerry Judy's going to stink this week. I look. It was. They took advantage of. I always mispronounce the name. The defensive lineman for the Ravens not being there, and they just ran it down their throat. I mean, David Montgomery was absolutely fantastic. I was so wrong on him. I had him as a sit this week, so my bad on that one. Jahmyr Gibbs was great as well, and Jared Goff just played solid. Like, this was not a great fantasy game for him, but just did everything he needed to do. And the throw at the end of the game to Amon-Ra St. Brown was great. Great play call on the 4th down. We have a Jameson Williams problem. You know, this is going to be an interesting game for a lot of fantasy managers because the targets have been non-existent through the first 3 weeks of the season. He's at home, and going back to last year, he averages over 15 PPR points per game at home. Now, that does not mean he scores over 15 PPR points per game in every home game, but we saw what he did in week 2 against Chicago when he had 2 catches for 100+ yards. He could easily break a big play against the Browns, but can you trust him based on what's happening right now in the Browns defense? So we're getting a lot of Jameson Williams sucks. I got a few. You said Jameson Williams is going to be good. Now he stinks. What do I do? Well, you keep him on your bench for the moment, and hopefully things start to turn around. But it has not been good for him right now. But in the case of the Lions, the running backs are back to being what they were a year ago. And I think the week 1, oh my God, Ben Johnson's gone, they stink. That narrative has quickly died.
I got to say something about Jameson Williams. I've brought it up now. This is going to be the 3rd week in a row. The average route depth. This was the highest of his season. It was 15.23 yards. That's insanely high. Last year, his average route depth was 10 yards. This year, it's 13.8 yards.
He's a clear out guy.
And it doesn't work. It doesn't work, for fantasy purposes. It's hard. You cannot have a consistent wide receiver who's average route depth. And I think average route depth is like how far you run when you make your first break or cut or something like that. Jacob knows the definition. But I know that if you look at the leaders in average route depth, you're not getting a ton of successful receivers. Yes, Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison will be up there. The Vikings, that's what they do. But most of the guys are the Alec Pierces of the world. And it's a big change for Jameson Williams, and it's only gotten worse every week. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. If they start using him differently, he'll be more consistent. But this is a bummer.
So if we have a Jameson Williams problem, do we also have a Sam Laporta problem? Because Laporta has 4 targets in each of his past 2 games, no more than 7 PPR points in either of those 2 games. You might tolerate 7 PPR points from a tight end. That's certainly better than from a wide receiver, but neither. You'd think that one of the 2 would get a solid amount of targets each week, and you'd have to figure out which one. It hasn't been that way at all, save for week 1 when Laporta had a bunch of targets against Green Bay and they were playing a ton of heavy zone, and the Lions were playing from behind in that game. And so now I'm wondering, like, are both of these guys players that you can't feel good about starting? Obviously, it's easier to get away from Jameson. There aren't a lot of great tight ends, but it makes me nervous about Laporta too moving forward.
You just
know I wouldn't be pivoting from, let's say, Laporta to Fannin at this point, but you might be pivoting from Laporta to Henry.
You just know what you're potentially missing every week with these guys, because especially Jameson Williams.
Sure.
So that's what makes it tough. But yeah, I mean, this is.
And Jameson, both of his catches came like right away at the start of the game.
Yeah.
So of course I'm thinking, I've got JMO in a bunch of leagues. So of course I'm thinking, oh, this is it. This is going to be a big game for him. He's going to get a lot of targets. Nope.
All right.
Happen.
So
they were able to, they out-Ravened the Ravens. Jamie said it best. They were able to just run the ball like crazy.
Few Ravens questions. Number 1, if you were drafting again today, would you consider, this is a serious question here, would you consider taking Lamar Jackson number 1 overall? He had his worst fantasy game yesterday, scored 33 fantasy points.
No, but he's
he's insane. Okay. Are you concerned about Derrick Henry with a fumble in every game?
I mean, a little bit, just based on how he's not so much the fumbles. He's just not running well. Like, the offensive line's not helping. The fact that he got stuffed 3 times at the goal line was troubling. And, I mean, he gets the long touchdown run. You take that away, and it was a miserable night, absolutely miserable night.
We've talked about the splits for Henry in wins and losses. And it's more than just like what the final score is. It's the game script. And when the Ravens are playing from behind, he's not really a huge factor.
Okay.
They might be playing from behind a little bit more often than we think. Their defense isn't as great as we thought it would be.
Everything you're saying, though, just makes me want to buy low on Derrick Henry. I still believe.
Oh, you should. You should.
No one's going to give up on him, though. But no one's giving up on Derrick Henry.
Yeah. If any running back, if most running backs in the NFL fumbled every game, their coaches might give up on him. But I don't think it's going to happen with Derrick Henry. Like he's Derrick Henry. Zay Flowers, huge disappointment, but we're still going to consider him a must start going forward.
Yeah, I mean, look, he may get McDuffie. What could be a problem for him?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not setting him yet.
We've had the full Zay Flowers experience through the first 3 weeks of the season. We had the monster in week 1, and then a solid game in week 2, and then Dudsville in week 3.
And then what about Mark Andrews? Sell high?
There's a very realistic chance likely returns this week. So yes, if you can sell high on Mark Andrews, this is the perfect time to do it.
It's a big if.
Okay.
But this was great. I mean, this was as vintage Mark Andrews you can get. Forget about the 2 touchdowns. Just the involvement was finally fun to see.
All right, let's do the Dropometer here. Drop 0 to 10. 0, no way. I would never drop this guy. You're an idiot. 10 is obviously I would drop this guy. Why are you asking? You're an idiot. Keon Coleman.
3.
5.
Khalil Shakir.
0.
3.
Would you rather roster Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir?
Coleman.
Shakir.
Travis Hunter.
9.
5.
Oh, you guys giving out my phone number?
Sounds more like my number.
2 digits there. Dylan Sampson.
10.
10.
I mean, the caveat would be, is he the handcuff now to Quinshon?
I think he's the handcuff to Quinshon, but he's not the pass catching running back for the Browns. So it depends on what you're looking at. If you're talking about, if Quinshon gets hurt, you want to roster him, sure.
He could catch the ball, but he hasn't been the third down guy.
Right. He'd catch the ball on first and second now, but you're right. Jerome Ford is the third down guy.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin Ridley.
3.
Yeah. If I said 3 for the Bills, it's 3 for him.
RJ Harvey.
0.
Isaiah Pacheco.
4.
It's even higher in smaller leagues where you can find a solid running back off the waiver wire. But he looks very much like a sad trap back.
Marquise Brown.
7.
5.
$1 million. Dak Prescott.
In 4 weeks, it'll be $1 million.
It's an interesting one. 1 quarterback leagues, if you need to replace somebody you like the rest of your roster, it's probably at 8 or 9. But CeeDee Lamb's back in 2 weeks potentially, and you want to have Dak.
You can't start him this week, and I don't know if you're going to feel good starting him at the Jets without CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, look, if he couldn't really put up a big number against the Bears without CeeDee Lamb, I'm just not expecting to start him. I'd love to. I'm going to try to stash him. I have Dak in a few leagues. I'm not planning on dropping him, but I get it. Kyler Murray.
0.
Right. I would rather, 0.
Another guy.
Smaller leagues, maybe you can drop him, like 8-team leagues. Same as Dak.
Could have had a good game if not for the drops.
Yep.
And 6 more carries for Kyler Murray. So 6 or 7 in all 3 games. All right. Waiver wire. Let's see what
would say 6-7.
What did you say?
The kids would say 6-7.
Would they? What does that
Nothing.
mean?
Go ahead.
Okay. So waiver wire quarterbacks, Brock Purdy would be the best to pick up, right? If everyone were available, everyone would,
If you're looking long term, yes. If you're looking short term, I would go with Mariota or Geno.
But you do have to acknowledge that Jane Daniels might play.
That's what I'm saying.
Why you put Geno first.
Okay. So, all right, Purdy and Justin Fields are the shallow league guys, and then Mariota, Geno Smith. Dave, if they both play, do you also like Mariota ahead of Geno Smith?
I like Geno better. The biggest concern I've got with him is that the offensive line is super inconsistent, and the Bears' defense looked good getting to Dak last week and pressuring him a little bit more than we've seen from Chicago. But they're both fine. I would rather make the move for Geno since I don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play. If he practices by Wednesday or Thursday, if you've already spent the FAAB or the waiver move to get Mariota, you might not be able to get Geno. So I would just rather play it safe and get Geno first.
And then there's Carson Wentz, who threw 20 passes and scored 19.3 fantasy points. Had a very good game against Cincinnati. Now he gets Pittsburgh. They allow the 5th most yards per attempt in football. They have forced a lot of turnovers, but they've been a good matchup. Then he gets Cleveland, which is probably going to be tough. So Wentz is on there. Okay, give me just your top. Are we talking about a top 15 guy with Tua this week against the Jets?
Borderline. It's a good week for quarterbacks.
Yeah, he's not bad. Sauce Gardner.
I would start Mariota and Smith over Tua.
You would start Mariota and Smith over Tua. Okay.
Yeah, I've got Smith in my top 12. I think you do too, James.
Bryce Young. Again, the schedule is amazing going for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, another guy that has a good opportunity, just not ranked as high just because of the week.
Oh, that Patriots-Panthers game could be a fun one for fantasy. And then there's Jackson Dart. There's Tyrod Taylor. Tyrod Taylor, he often will get you around 20 fantasy points, which is exactly what he did at Tampa Bay. And he has Miami this week. And then he has the Cowboys. So
this really, really, really needs to be a Breece Hall week.
Yeah.
Joe Boo week for Breece.
Sam Darnold's actually playing pretty well, just not throwing much. 18 pass attempts turned into almost 21 fantasy points against the Saints. He gets the Cardinals this week. So guys that don't have jobs right now, but Jackson Dart, Kirk Cousins, I still think Jameis Winston, if you're in a 2 QB league and you have a roster spot to play with, might make sense. Jake Browning, are we in or out on Jake Browning just long term? He goes Denver this week, so that's a no. But are we in or out on Jake Browning long term?
In 1 QB leagues, 100%. In Superflex and 2 QB leagues, you're still rostering him without question.
I'm sorry, you're saying in 1 QB leagues, 100% out on Browning.
Correct.
All right. All right, let's go to the running backs here. Trey Benson is the prize. If you could only have one handcuff, who do you think the best handcuff in fantasy is?
Of everybody available or just so the entire field is available?
Sure.
And you can't cheat and say David Montgomery.
I would take Brian Robinson.
Okay. Algier would be up there as well. I think Blake Corum at this point would have to be up there. He looks pretty good.
I would take Algier. I think he's a more complete back, and we've seen him, like Robinson, we've seen him do it before. But in that full-time role in Atlanta, I like it.
I'm not going to spend much time.
We've never seen Robinson in San Francisco, though, so that could be amazing.
It may be. I know he doesn't catch the ball very much. He can do it. He can, but we don't see a ton of it. Look, he won't be like McCaffrey.
I don't know how Christian McCaffrey can survive this. He's got the 2nd most catches and the 3rd most targets in the NFL, and he's an every down running back. He's just getting pummeled all the time. They need to, I think, ease his workload a little bit.
I wonder if 49ers fans before the season had this question posed to them. You can have Christian McCaffrey for the entire season, but everybody else would fall apart.
Yeah, right. I don't know what's going on there with everyone gets hurt on that team. It's insane. All right. We're not going to spend a lot of time on running backs. Just go to the top 3 priorities. It's basically the same thing. Tajay Spears coming back, hopefully in week 5. Woody Marks maybe starting to, get that work from Nick Chubb. You can pick up Chris Rodriguez or Jeremy McNichols. You guys prefer which running back for Washington?
The biggest surprise was, we spent last week talking about how are they going to replace Austin Eckler. And what they did was they replaced Corey Krosky-Merritt, which is so weird. Because the fact that Rodriguez went from inactive to that role as the leading the team in carries and being the starter, the quote-unquote starter, like that to me was the biggest surprise, because it was not replacing Eckler from a passing downs perspective, was not replacing Eckler in a pass protection role. It was replacing JCM and Eckler as the first guy out of the gate to get carries. And so the fact that he had 11 carries in a game where they jumped out to such a big lead. And so who knows how the game would have unfolded throughout the course of the game. Don't give up on Bill yet. You're not dropping him. There's still plenty of potential there. But clearly there's some disconnect between Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn and what they want Krosky-Merritt to do, and he's just not doing it.
They barely play him in the first quarter. It's been that way in each of their 3
He
games.
hasn't come in the first 3 games until the third series each time.
He has yet to record a carry in the first quarter. He has 8 snaps in the first quarter. First quarter, yeah.
So wait, what's the answer here? I'm sorry, did I miss it? Rodriguez or McNichols? Who would you pick?
Adam's just looking for the answer to this.
Rodriguez right now.
Yeah.
All right. Ollie Gordon, Blake Corum, Braylon Allen, Kareem Hunt, and Miles Sanders, Kyle Monangai, Taj Brooks, Kendry Miller, Rico Dowdle. You could even make a case for. He had 10 carries last week. Okay. Wide receivers. So if Chris Godwin and Jawan Jennings are staring at you on the waiver wire, who are you picking up?
Godwin right now. I mean, if Evans is out for multiple weeks, like this is the opportunity Godwin needs to get back into the fold quickly.
And then are they both Godwin and Jennings ahead of Matthew Golden for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you still think Wan'Dale Robinson is a 10 to 12 PPR fantasy point guy on most weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we love, we don't love. We like Elic Ayomanor. He's number 1. Cam Ward has thrown 5 passes of 20 or more air yards, and 3 of them have gone to Ayomanor, including that wacky 23-yard touchdown pass that was probably ill-advised. Tre Tucker, second time in his career, he's had consecutive games with a target per out run rate of 18% or higher. So that is a good trend for him. Luther Burden, Jamie likes as a stash, and Dave likes Rashid Shaheed. Sorry about that.
And Jalen Coker needs to be mentioned here too. That's a really good call.
The Packers wide receivers might be worth getting. How do you feel about Tyquan Thornton? I'd be pretty interested in him if not for Worthy coming back hopefully this week, and obviously Rice on the horizon. But Thornton's doing some good things for Kansas City.
I mean, I don't know if necessarily this week matters for Worthy or not for what Thornton is going to do. And he's going to essentially be what we said about Jameson Williams. He's going to be the clear out guy, so there's going to be some deep shots to him down the field. There'll be some opportunities for him to make plays. The fact that Patrick Mahomes said he was calling for the late touchdown throw, and wanting to rely on him at a time where you have Marquise Brown. I think this was supposed to be Marquise Brown, essentially. So say everybody was healthy, Brown was supposed to be this guy. The guy that can make some plays down the field, use his speed, get open. Yeah. Thornton's doing it. And if you ever were to say that a Patriots wide receiver can get cut and find a way to New England, and this is what he becomes. Like Tyquan Thornton is fast, man. He was the fastest guy at the combine when he came out. So there's a lot to like about his boom bust potential. It's just, is he going to get 7 targets, 8 targets, 9 targets on a weekly basis, and everybody's healthy? That's the biggest knock.
That's the biggest problem. I could see a world where they go 3 receivers with Rice, Worthy, and Thornton, and then they've got so much speed on the outside that defenses are going to be in a bind. It would make the target share and the numbers would be massive for Rice and maybe Kelsey, because they'd get a bunch of short and intermediate targets if they did that.
It's a good time to buy low on Mahomes.
That's what I'm saying. We talked about it on Beyond the Box Score.
Yep.
This guy is throwing deep. He leads the NFL in pass attempts of 20 or more air yards. They throw a lot of short passes and a lot of deep passes. And I like that. I like that for Rice. I like that.
And they can't run the ball.
And I don't think that's a good thing that they're so bad at running the ball. I just think it's just bad for their offense. But
when they start to see 7-man boxes, they'll be able to run the ball better.
That could be. I don't know if they are. Yeah, that could be. All right,
6-man boxes or 5-man boxes. Like you're gonna have a hard time defending these guys when they're healthy. The problem is it's been 2 years of them not being healthy.
Christian Kirk had 8 targets in his first game. Technically, the Titans do allow the most yards in the NFL to slot wide receivers, but that's always, if you face Puka Nacua, you're always going to be up there on that list. But Christian Kirk's 51% rostered. Mentioned the Cowboys, guys. If you were going to pick Turpin or Tolbert, which one would you go with?
Tolbert will get more targets, but Turpin has much more big play and upside. So I would take Turpin.
That's if I had to take a Cowboys receiver.
Ayuk is eligible to come back next week. I don't know that he will, but he's eligible. And I just offered, I doubt this is going to get accepted. I just offered Ricky Pearsall for Trey Benson, trying to get out of Ricky Pearsall. Not that I think he's going to stink, but see if you can sell high. All right. So those are some, we mentioned so many wide receivers. Had the tight ends, Juwan Johnson still available in 18% of CBS sports leagues. How do you feel about Dalton Kincaid? I know Jamie talked about him briefly, but he's got 2 big games so far this year, but no more than 6 targets in any game.
Right.
How do you feel about him, Jamie? Kincaid?
I would trust him as a low-end starter moving forward. I don't know if he has the upside to be Jake Ferguson, for example, because he's not going to get that many targets on a week-to-week basis. But when we did our bold predictions prior to the season, I said that that Kincaid will lead them in targets, catches, all the receiving numbers and again, 2 of the 3 games so far, he's been good. Forget about the bold prediction, but 2 or 3 games, like he's been very good. The one game that he wasn't was the Jets game where they blew them out and didn't throw the ball very much. So at this point, like everything we thought for him last year is coming to fruition, being a playmaker for a Bills team that's going to spread the ball around. He's just putting up, decent enough fantasy numbers. Like you're should be trusting him at this point to be a low-end starter.
But it's not with a lot of trust. I'd want to have a second tight end on my team or a waiver wire full of tight ends.
Would you drop him for Hunter Henry?
No.
Would you drop Dallas Goedert for Hunter Henry?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you drop Kyle Pitts for Hunter Henry?
Yes.
Yeah, but I might go back and get Pitts once Henry delivers one of those awesome 3-target, 1-catch games like he had in week 2.
Look, with Henry, who is the number 1 waiver wire priority in terms of guys who are actually available in a lot of leagues, he averaged 10 points per game last year with a healthy Drake May. That's solid. He's got 2 of 3 good games, and then it's like, yeah, but he didn't have Stephon Diggs and all that. Well, those guys aren't really doing anything.
It's true.
Drake May's got the 8th highest tight end target rate in the NFL. So,
and a coordinator that loves tight ends.
I think I'm going to buy back in. By the way, Carolina this week, 26th against tight ends so far. Would you drop Harold Fannin Jr. for Hunter Henry?
Yes.
I think so.
Would you drop David Njoku for Hunter Henry?
Yes.
Would you drop David Njoku for Brenton Strange?
No.
I might.
Okay. Chigo Okonkwo has been all right. Dave mentioned Kate Otten, what he could do, what he did last year. Hopefully, we'll see.
Right.
If Godwin's back this week, it's not a big endorsement.
You're going to have to miss on a lot of tight ends to trust Kate Otten as a start this week.
It's a very fine line of both receivers have to be out to trust Kate Otten.
And then Gadsden comes in and has his first meaningful snaps of his career, and he turns 22 snaps into 5 targets or 46 yards and on 7 targets. The only snaps of his career, by the way. So he's not on the list that you're seeing here if you're watching, but I don't know. I feel like I need to mention Oronde Gadsden.
There's just too many mouths to feed in this offense to trust them on a week-to-week basis.
Well, that McConkey stinks. All right. That's it for tight ends. You can drop Evan Ingram. You can drop Geno Smith. DSTs, the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Lions are really good. Good options this week. Lions might get 2 great games from them. And Seattle's the number 1 defense in the league so far. So they are 72% rostered. Also, the Rams. The Rams are interesting because they're a good defense, but they have the worst matchup in fantasy, basically, with the Colts this week. So maybe don't go for them. All right, kicker, Josh Carty, Will Reichard, Jason Myers. Thank you for watching and listening. 1 p.m. Eastern, CBS Sports Network. We will see you there with more Waiver Wire. Talk to you then.